First of all, thank you very much for joining today. I'll just say very few words briefly about the instrument. So the gittern, it's something that we see in medieval iconographies among all over Europe, basically. In between, I will say the beginning of 14th century through really all the 15th century as well. And it's probably the only, yes, it's the only medieval plucked instruments of which we have some surviving examples. In particular, there are two. One from Poland, which is in horrible shape. I don't know if any of you have seen this. And one which is a masterpiece of luthiery, that is the famous Hansot gittern, which is in Warwick Castle in Germany, I believe. I don't remember exactly. But the important thing is that because of these two surviving instruments, we can know pretty much what the construction technique of the instrument was all about. The fact that it was a carved monoxidal instrument, and you know, a range of sizes that permits us to reconstruct a plausible medieval guitar, regardless of the iconography we take inspiration from, and so on. So the guitar is basically a small lute. It can have 4 or 5 string pairs or courses. Let me just mute my phone. Someone decided to write me now. Okay, sorry. And we have no informations about the tuning of the guitar. As you know, the medieval lute tunings that are used normally have been reconstructed, let's say, retrospectively from the Renaissance lute tuning, which is known. It's also known because of the tablature music that was printed for lute, but also because of the Wolfenbüttel fragment, which is the earliest lute tablature for 5 courses lute in the middle of 15th century. And so we know how the 5 courses lute was tuned, which was like the 6 courses lute, already with the third between the F and the A, and later an extra bass, the low G of the lute, was added. We don't know how the medieval lute was tuned in any one of its incarnations. Therefore, I believe there are no sources, or just one very controversial one, about the tuning of the guitar. So, how I tune the guitar is just, let's say, an empirical attempt to use the same string gauges that I use on the medieval lute, because I think this will make sense as a general approach for medieval instruments, not to use too many different string gauges. So, luckily, I'm able to tune this guitar 1 perfect fourth above my medieval lute just by using the same strings. I tune my medieval lute G, D, A, either D or E on the bass. So my guitar will be C, G, A, sorry, C, G, D, either A or G for the bass. And this is, again, just a retrospective attempt of reconstructing the tuning of these earlier plucked instruments, assuming that the third in the tuning that you find in the 5 courses Quattrocento 15th century lute and later instruments is a later addition, because its function is actually to permit the instrument to play polyphonic lines, where these instruments are more for melody and the accompaniment of singing, secular monody or reduction of secular polyphony. But the tunings of these instruments are not, let's say, standardized in any way, or are not established by any philological or historical criteria. So if you want to experiment with strange tuning sometimes, or just have an open tuning, I will say there's nothing wrong with it. So let's get started with something a little bit more technical. I use no straps to hold the gittern. I just hold it with my, I don't know the English word for this part of my arm, but I hold it here. So the instrument stays in place just because I'm holding it with my thumb and index, and well, whatever is called the part of my arm. Someone helps me. Paul?
Wrist, maybe?
Well, a little bit.
Yeah, bit there.
You could
Not
say
exactly on
forearm.
the wrist. Forearm.
Forearm.
Forearm. Okay, thank you very much. So I hug the instrument from below, and the other, let's say, balance point is this pistol-shaped hand that holds the instrument. It's a bit difficult at the beginning to find the right equilibrium and to find the right motion of the right hand, but it's possible. So please just try to hold the instrument like I do, because that's really the first step with the gittern, in my opinion. And just try to, the most important thing that you want to achieve at the beginning with any kind of double stringed instrument is to achieve some kind of simultaneity in the in playing the two strings together. So in order to do this, regardless of the kind of plectrum that you are using, you want to fall on the string. Fall on the string and stay on the string below. And when I say fall, I literally mean that you need to release the weight of your hand on the string. It's really about falling. It's not an active movement. You're not plucking the string, you're falling on it. Okay, this is what I just did, is what you want to avoid. This. Okay, you want to two strings to sound together. So this is the first, let's say, Zen exercise of the gittern player. No? Just try to achieve simultaneity in the sounding of the two strings and the maximum amount of sound and volume from the most possible relaxed motion, which I really believe you should think about as falling on the string. Okay, just to give you, this is plucking, so I'm using my wrist actively to pull the string with the plectrum. This is falling. Plucking, falling. Okay. Once you have done this, and you are able to really again fall on the string and make the two strings sound simultaneous, the best exercise to start with, just to get used to the right motion, it's a triplet. But a kind of triplet that we play down, up, down, down, up, down. Just follow me on your second string. important thing is that when you do the accent on the one of the triplet, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then you are falling on the string below and staying on it, like appoggiando on the classic guitar. Okay. Once again, a little bit, just to warm up. And if you want, you can start adding just the first phrase. Okay, so the most important thing is that you keep the pattern with your right hand, okay, regardless of the notes. In a piece like this, which is based on what we will call scenaria italica, then the pattern, I believe, should be always kept throughout the melody, unless there are cases in which it's absolutely impossible to have this this kind of motion with the right hand. But this will give really the phrasing the right musical direction. The most important thing is what you do with your right hand in this kind of instruments. So let's try again this little phrase. I will break it down for you. So it's down, up, down, down, up, down. And then I change string. I do down, up, down, down. Okay, so Jane's asking, Plectrum, is this a key? No, this is just a piece of string. I'm using normally two kinds of plectrums. One is again just a piece of my third course's string, which I shape a little bit on the point, and the other one is a plastic wood pick. So I don't really use kills. Well, I'm vegetarian for so so I tend to avoid that. But apart from these, kills need a lot of maintenance, where I like to pick my plectrum rather randomly. So I just need to have a bunch of them that are working immediately. And also what you find in the iconography, it's usually these two kinds of plectrum for guitar. One which looks a little bit wider, a little bit more rigid, and the other one that looks like a piece of strings that it's sometimes just shown plain like this, coming up from the end of the musician. Some other times it comes out in two. I don't know if you can see this because this one it's a bit short, but it comes out like in two pieces, which would suggest that then the piece of string is bended, and it becomes like a guitar pick basically, because then you're using a wider surface. This one's a bit difficult to do because it's short. But if you have a longer piece of string, okay, so the point of my plectrum now is something like this, okay, and I can use it. Okay, this one it's a bit short to do that, so I just use it plain. So the pattern once again it's down up down, but it repeats itself. So it's down up down down up down. Okay, the important thing with this kind of triplet is that when you speed it up, you want to really find yourself bouncing on the string. Okay, so it has to be a relaxed motion. And you will notice that if you speed it up, you will find yourself bouncing on the string, using the resistance of the string just to do this down down motion, which will be a little bit unintuitive. Okay, okay. So let's just go back a little bit to our saltarello, just in order to finish at least the first part. So this triplet pattern, so of course it works when you are playing on one string. So it's down up down down up down. But if you change string, normally what you will do is to go in the same direction on the string change. So the triplet between two strings becomes down, down, up. Okay, so it's... This is just alternating the two different patterns, so it's down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, up. Okay. Okay, I don't know if you know the melody. If you don't, I can, well, I will send you the score. Sorry. By now, just try to follow by ear. Okay, so the last one is... down, up, down, and the triplet between the two strings. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, so this is just an example of a simple piece that you carry on just with basically one right hand pattern. Okay, so the final result, let's say, of this would be... Okay, so as you can hear, everything is it's built in a specific series of rhythmical accents, which is what we want to really achieve when you're playing these kind of instruments, I mean, they may have a nice sound, but they don't have a lot of resonance. They don't have sustain we can play with. So, in order to really refine our phrasing, what we need to do is to make the rhythmical structure of our musical phrases very clear in terms of accents and in general right hand patterns. Because the important thing to know, well, to be aware of, is that on double strings instruments, especially double strings acoustic instruments, the down pick and the up pick can have a radically different sound. Okay, so the down pick, it will always sound as an accented note. Okay, and the up pick will always sound like a non-accented note, unless we use a very rigid plectrum and we strike it very hard. But I mean, there's no really point of doing it. Okay. So these are two, let's say, different timbres that we can use in our playing. And let's say the main rhythmical structure of whatever we play should be normally played down. The up pick is for subdivisions, for ornamentations, and for certain effects. Okay, so what we can do now is to work on some little right hand ornamentation tricks, I would say. So trills and combination of a little ornament that I personally use all the time. So the first one, it's very simple. It's just a 3 notes trill. So it's down, up, down, but it's conceived so that the real note, let's say the note you are falling on, is the last one. So it's ta-ta-tam. For example, the other saltarello. Okay. So the ta-ta-tam, the real note is on the last of the three. It's an ornament that comes before the note you are ornamenting. Sorry, Heather, I never smile on Sunday morning. I cannot feel it. Okay, so this is of course taken from the, let's say, the oud style of playing, but it's something that I will say it's a bit universal among all the existing plucked chordophones. Okay. J-Nax is if the right hand is notated on the music like violin bow strokes. No, it's not. Actually, there is no notated music for plucked instruments in medieval repertoires. All what we have, it's either vocal music or a bunch of instrumental pieces which were not associated in the sources with any specific instrument, apart from the keyboard music that will appear a little bit later from the music we are talking about now. So, the important thing about this specific ornament is that when you play it, the last note should fall on the string. So the last note is with rest stroke. Because we want to give the accent on the last note. That's, let's say, the real note of the ornament. Okay. So let's do a little phrase with this specific ornament, and let's do the phrase from the other saltarello, the second one, which is okay. Or we can play it both at the beginning or and at the end of the phrase. Let's do it like this just for exercise. Okay, so let's go on. That's the phrase. We could play. Okay, so here we can join with the ornament with the left hand. Okay, so a typical melodic pattern that I use when I want to fill up this specific ornament is just to reach note I want to play it with the two below. Okay, so let's say I want to play this note. I'll just do the scale fragment to get there. In this case, so it's Re, and I want to go to G, D, E, F, G, okay. The whole thing, just once to remember. Just the aperto for now. Let's not play the chiuso, the ending melody. final one, the Chiuso melody. Is it clear for everybody? Does anyone have any question about what we did until now? Just to check, or wants me to?
I can see what you're doing quite clearly. I can't always copy it, of course, but it's coming through very clearly, at least on my reception. I mean, okay. I don't know what other people are, how they're getting on.
Just let's just take a minute if anyone has any questions. Just unmute yourself and speak. Or want to review anything? Yes.
I don't think I can support the weight of the gittern with my right wrist. I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Can you show me how you're doing it? Well, I can see that your instrument is much wider than mine, so I understand that. Well, what you can try to do is to embrace it a little bit from below more. But the thing is, if your instrument is not small enough, then these specific postures become impossible. I mean, you cannot really play like this with a big instrument. And so if you have like a wider gittern, like the one Alan is showing us now, then maybe you want to use a strap. Either use a strap or just play seated. Okay, not play standing, because this technique is really to play standing. I place it like this just because I'm used to it. But normally I will play standing like this.
That position that you hold there, Peppe, with it held like this, it looks just like the illustrations that we see in the Cantigas manuscript.
So there are some questions. How much of this still applies to an instrument in single courses? Well, most of it, actually. It's what you can do with double courses, you can do with single courses. With single courses, you need, let's say, to rely less on the fact of falling on the strings, because you don't have the issue of simultaneity of the two courses, of the two strings of the course. So my guitar was made by Giordano Ceccotti in Italy, who's I think one of the very best instrument makers for carved instruments, and I'm quite happy with it. Can you say something about the dimension of your instruments? And another related question about the unsought original guitar. Actually, the vibrating length of the unsought original instrument, which I've never seen live, but I got the specs from the museum, is exactly the same of this one. So the instrument is not much bigger. It is a bit wider, but it's also a bit thinner. For what I remember, I should check it again. So I think the vibrating length of this specific instrument is 44.1 centimeters, and about inches. And so this means that the wall instrument is probably 55 centimeters or something around that. I don't have the specific measurements. If you want, we can measure it live later. Can you comment on pressure bridges versus glued bridges? Sure. Both of the systems are shown in iconography. they tend to sound a bit different. The glued bridges or the tension bridges, so called, tend to enhance more, let's say, the harmonic range of the instrument to sound a little bit more bassy and to hide a bit the attack of the plectrum. Normally the instruments with pressure bridges sound louder on the, let's say, on the attack part, on the transient part of the note, and a little bit quieter on the side of the resonance of the note. So it's a matter of taste at the end of the day. It's also a matter of how tense you like your strings to be, because a pressure bridge to actually work, it needs a pressure bridge. It needs a bit more of tension from the strings to work properly. And I like personally, I like personally to use quite soft strings. I'm not into very tense strings. My strings are quite soft, and often when I play alone, or when I play alone with an EAF, for instance, I tune even one half tone below, just to have a little bit more of dynamic control on the instrument. How you can tell which is which in iconography? Well, sometimes it's just clear. Sometimes it's you can tell it from the fact that the strings proceeds after the bridge. Okay, so if you see that the painter just prolonged the strings until the back of the instrument, this will suggest, for what we can tell about iconography, and each single iconography is it's a specific case of study, then we can tell it's a pressure bridge. The unsought gittern, for what I remember, it has now a pressure bridge, I'm sure about that, but we are not sure about the originality of that specific bridge, because we can see that there is a long crack on the soundboard. So well, actually my lute teacher in Basel, Crawford Young, he believes that the original bridge just unglued from the top, breaking it, and then it was restored probably in sometimes around the 19th century with a mandolin bridge, because the bridge that it's now on the unsought gittern, and also the little metal pins that hold the strings, those are basically the same that you find in Central European mandolins of the 19th century. So probably well, we don't know how the original bridge worked, but the recent bridge is probably a 19th century restoration. So another question: when after an ornament your melody takes you to the strings above, will that up down up motion be applied? I'm not sure I understand this question. Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes,
and elaborate?
thank you. So I was going to the chuso that you just showed us. So up here, and then I have to come to the string above to complete the chuso.
Yeah.
So if I do down, up, down, then I have to jump all the way up to my string above to complete the chuso.
Well, what I will do is the...
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Or with the open string, no?
Yes.
Or you're doing this...
Yeah, the string is open because it's the fifth.
Because it's a D, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Okay. It's just that the jump feels a little bit awkward. when I'm down, and then I have to come up here.
Yeah. Yes.
From here.
Well, you can do down, up, down, down.
Okay.
And
All right.
Then,
Fair enough.
play a triplet here. So it's da da da, down, up, down.
Yes.
Down, up, down, down.
Okay.
This is what I
Okay.
will do. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, let's now look, just to give you a little bit more of technical material to work on. Another let's say plectrum ornament that I do all the time. It's, well, another kind of trill, but this one starts up, and it's up down, up down. Okay, so up down, up down. Okay, so the way of the way I will suggest to practice these ornaments is to start with the ornament a tempo, meaning using actual subdivision of the metronome you are practicing on. So ta 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 ta. Ta, 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 ta. And then you make the ornament smaller, keeping the tempo. Meaning, if I so you keep the tempo, but the ornament becomes closer and closer to the note you want to play on. So you start. Okay, this because it's all about rhythmical clarity. Okay, these are not this kind of ornaments need the function of those. It's to give the phrase the right rhythmical direction. Okay, so we are filling up the we're, let's say, increasing the density of notes and of music happening in order to end, to create a little rhythmical cadence somewhere in the melody. So they need to be very clear rhythmically. The rhythmical structure of each one of these instruments, of these ornaments, should be your main goal. Okay, to have them very clear rhythmically, even if they sound, let's say, out from the metronome. It's not the point of having the ornament itself very rhythmically defined, but it's more the overall phrase. Okay, so if I play like, I don't know, Lamento di Tristano. Okay, let's play it. No, let's play it from La. Okay, and let's put the ornament here. Okay, so down, up, up, down, up, down. Normally let's say the standard melodic pattern that I accompany this ornament with it's starting with the note above the one I want to fall on. Okay, so I want to fall here on the La, and then do Si La Sol La, starting up with the plectrum. So the phrase will be. Okay, and I add these last two little notes to the ornament. So. Okay, so now I'm using the two ornaments all over the place. Always using the same melodic formulas to accompany them. So, of course, you can do other stuff. No? You can play on one single note. You can go from below, you can go from above. That's not specifically defined, but just for the sake of exercise, whenever I play down, up, down, I play a melodic formula from below the note, 2 notes below the note I want to fall on. Okay. Whenever I play up, down, which is the one we saw now, it's I start from the note above the one I want to fall on. Okay. So my guitar is tuned C. It was tuned at least 10 minutes ago. C, G, D, A at the moment. Let me check my tuning because I hear something strange here and there. By the way, when you tune double strings, now that we are here, the way to do it is to tune one, untune the other one, and play them together. Okay, never tune double strings individually. You want the chorus to be in tune, not the single string, because sometimes the two strings are in tune individually, but the chorus sound out of tune. Okay, and use your eye with the tuner for the single string and use your ear for the chorus. Don't use the tuner for the chorus. If you can use your ear for both, it's even better, but at least for the chorus. Better. So, once again. No, I was playing. Let's just practice this a little bit. Starting up. Up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. Okay, in the context of the phrase, once again, once again, 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 sorry, last time, next phrase. Okay, the phrase will be, but we can use the same ornament just to fill up this long note. And here we can put it on a single note without doing all the time the little melody. So it's now I did. Okay, so this will be the general idea about how to use these plectrum ornaments that I think look, the way I apply this, especially for monody, it's not especially rooted in any insight on medieval music in particular. It's more about finding universal elements that recur on the style of playing of all the surviving plucked lutes that we have in the world. Okay, because always have in mind that we don't have plucked lutes in the West. Okay, we have mandolins, of course, which are a much later incarnation, and let's say a different branch of this whole family of instruments that, of course, are plucked instruments, but they, let's say, evolved in a rather different direction. All the other plucked lutes that we that we found in music traditions that go from North Africa to Central Asia, those, let's say, they share, for at least for my understanding, some common technical elements, some kind of, let's say, universal little both technical and stylistical elements that, of course, can take different shapes in different musical traditions. Yes, we have a couple of minutes left. This is my final speech. That you know, they share they share some technical elements, some general philosophy of using the plectrum. So what I try to take are those, let's say, universal musical elements that occur in the style of playings of most of the plucked lutes that are still played today, and try to apply them in the repertoires where they make sense. So, are there any questions before we conclude?
Pepe, I think you said it at the start, but could you just repeat how your strings are tuned for us?
Yes, it's C, G, D, A. The A sometimes attuned with G, so one tone below.
so basically rising in fourths most of the time. And
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. There have been situations in which I tune CG. Look, I will suggest you to experiment with tunings as well. I mean, the idea of having a fixed tuning that works for everything, for every mode. We didn't speak about modes, but someone will probably during these workshops. So I will not really if I stick on one tune, it's just for practical reasons to not have to tune during the concerts. So that's the only real reason why I learned my repertoire just with one tuning. But if for one specific piece that I want to record, let's say, in which I don't have this issue, I want to tune differently, I will feel free to do it. And I think they would have felt free to do it in the Middle Ages as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, Peppe.
Thank you very much for inviting me. If
pleasure.
anyone wants to go on studying this, please feel free to get in touch with me. And again, hope to see you all in person next year.